Hi, welcome back to another daily or react. And today we're going to react to this next one. I just have to find it. There it is, right here. Like, comment, subscribe. I know I don't say that, but I really should. I might not say it, but whatever. I say it in this one, like comment, subscribe. Maybe I probably won't say it in any other one. Maybe.
My sister stole and wore my wedding dress to her engagement party. When she asked why I was upset, I silently handed her the ultrasound photo of the baby I had miscarried the day I bought the dress and had never worn. I always thought,
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Um. So I think it's like a bad omen or something. She thinks it is or something. I'm not 100% sure. From initial, oh wait, perfect. From initial thought, she might think it's either a bad omen or she's putting something onto the dress. I don't know, but she probably thinks it's a bad omen or something. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I think. She probably thinks it is. But that sucks though. Honestly, that is really bad.
my sister Rachel and I were close. We shared everything growing up: clothes, secrets, dreams. When we moved to the same city after college, we maintained that bond, having weekly dinner dates and helping each other through life's challenges. At least that's what I believed until 3 weeks ago, when everything I thought I knew about our relationship shattered in a single evening. The story begins 5 years ago. I was 26, newly married to David, and 3 months pregnant with our first child. We'd been trying for almost a year, and the joy we felt seeing that positive test was indescribable. We decided to wait until the traditional 12-week mark to share the news with family, wanting to be cautious despite our excitement. At exactly 12 weeks, I
That
scheduled
makes
appointments with
sense.
both our families to share our happiness. The day before these announcements, I went wedding dress shopping with my mother for an upcoming vow renewal ceremony we had planned for our first anniversary. I found a perfect gown, an elegant ivory A-line with delicate lace detailing that would accommodate my growing baby bump. It was more than I'd budgeted, but Mom insisted on helping with the cost, calling it an early gift for both me and her future grandchild. I left the boutique with a dress carefully boxed, floating on a cloud of happiness that seemed untouchable. That same evening, I started experiencing cramping. By midnight, I was in the emergency room. By morning, our baby was gone. The doctors called it a miscarriage. My body had
That's honestly that's terrible. I mean that's really bad. I mean words just don't describe how bad it is, especially what that does on I would say more so towards the mother or towards the girl than the guy. I mean, there is going to be, if obviously, if you're both looking forward for parenthood, of course, you're both going to go through some sort of, I would say, grief or something like that. Something along the line. But I would say more so the girl is going to go through more of something than the guy. Probably not always the case. There's probably some way there's reversed, but usually it's probably the girl that's goes through more of a mental stress than the guy. Not 100% sure. But yeah, this honestly is not it's not good news. It is really bad. This is just really bad.
failed to recognize that my baby's heart had stopped beating weeks earlier. The physical pain paled in comparison to the emotional devastation.
Ooh, yeah, that's bad. Because if the baby's heart failed, that means the baby actually was developed. I mean, they said they waited 12 weeks. So yeah, the baby was developed, of course. It was an actual baby. It was not like any. So it was an actual living thing. It was actually a living baby. So you can't just say it's not a baby. Yeah, it is. They waited 12 weeks until it was actually showing.
David and I canceled our family visits, sharing our loss instead of the joy we'd planned to announce. Everyone was supportive in their own ways, bringing meals, sending flowers, giving us space when we needed it. Everyone except Rachel. My sister seemed uncomfortable with my grief, changing the subject whenever I mentioned the baby, suggesting I focus on the positive and move forward mere weeks after my loss.
Huh?
Her discomfort hurt, but I attributed it to inexperience. She hadn't been through pregnancy or loss, and some people simply don't know how to respond to grief. The vow renewal never.
Not wrong. Some people don't know how to respond to grief. That is true. I understand that. That's not that you are right in that. But I mean, I would assume there's some sign in a person not knowing how to respond to grief. And then there's signs that they actually don't care.
Happened. The dress remained in its box, tucked away in the back of my closet, a beautiful reminder of plans that dissolved along with my pregnancy. David and I slowly rebuilt our lives, though attempting to conceive again led only to more heartbreak, 2 more miscarriages over the next 3 years.
Ooh, that's that's really bad. And also with that many miscarriages, you guys might. I don't know. I'm not sure about this, but I don't. Obviously, I don't really have much experience, but I believe that it also has strain on the relationship as well. Cause you tried 2 other times, in total of 3 miscarriages. I think they said.
Tucked away in the back of my closet, a beautiful reminder of plans that dissolved along with my pregnancy. David and I slowly rebuilt our lives, though attempting to conceive again led only to more heartbreak, 2 more miscarriages over the next.
Yep, 2 more miscarriages. So a total of 3. So I would say it would actually kind of hurt the relationship a lot.
3 years. After extensive testing revealed unexplained fertility issues, we started considering other paths to parenthood. Through all this, Rachel's life moved on its expected trajectory. She dated casually, focused on her career, and eventually met Michael 2 years ago. They moved in together quickly, and their relationship seemed solid and drama-free. When they announced their engagement 6 months ago, I was genuinely happy for them. Planning their wedding gave me a welcome distraction from my own struggles. Everything changed at their engagement party. Rachel and I had spent weeks planning the perfect celebration, an elegant garden party at our parents' home with close friends and family gathering to celebrate the couple. I arrived early to help set up, greeting guests as they arrived while waiting for the guest of honor. When Rachel finally made her entrance on Michael's arm, my world tilted on its axis. She was wearing my dress, the ivory lace gown I had purchased the day I lost my baby. The dress I couldn't bring myself to wear or even look at for 5 years. The dress that symbolized the most painful day of my life.
Okay, so it's not about. Okay, it's about pain. Okay, I should have known that actually. Hindsight, I really should have known it was pain instead of a bad omen. I don't know why I thought of bad omen first. Really don't know why I thought it that way. I should have realized it was pain. Ugh. I was talking about pain the whole time as well. As the, I don't know. Okay.
She floated through the crowd, accepting compliments on her beautiful dress while I stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. Our mother looked equally shocked, her eyes darting between Rachel and me with growing alarm. When Rachel finally reached me, she smiled brightly as if nothing was wrong. Surprise. I hope you don't mind, I found this gorgeous dress in the back of your closet when I was borrowing your navy blazer last month.
What? You just borrow clothes? And
Your closet when I was borrowing your navy blazer.
that's it? You just borrow your sister clothes? How do you get in her house? Unless your sister invites you over all the time. Other than that, you might have a spare key, but even if you have a spare key, doesn't mean you get to use it all the time. That's not what the spare key is for. Anyone has a spare key, they're not supposed to, and they don't live in the house. You're not just supposed to randomly use it unless you're there. Unless the person's okay for you to use it all the time. You're not just supposed to randomly use a spare key all the time. You're supposed to actually let the person know you're coming over.
Last month. You've never worn it, and it fits me perfectly. I thought, why let such a beautiful gown go to waste? The casual way she dismissed what that dress represented left me speechless. Around us, guests continued mingling, oblivious to the bomb that had just detonated in my chest. I excused myself, barely making it to the bathroom before breaking down. My mother found me there minutes later, her own eyes filled with tears. I don't understand how she could do this, she whispered. She knows what that dress
No, she doesn't. Like I said, she doesn't care. She
means to
only
you.
cares about her own life.
That was the question that haunted me throughout the evening as I moved through the party on autopilot, accepting congratulations for my sister while avoiding looking directly at her. How could she not know? How could she have forgotten the significance of that day, that dress? Had I somehow failed to communicate the depth of my loss, or had she simply chosen not to remember? I drove home alone that night, leaving David to make excuses for my early departure. The next morning, Rachel called as if nothing had happened, chattering about how wonderful the party had been and how everyone loved her engagement dress. Are you upset about something? She finally asked when I remained mostly silent. You seemed off last night. That was when I realized Rachel truly didn't remember, or had compartmentalized my loss so completely that she no longer associated the dress with that painful day. The realization hurt worse than her taking the dress in the first place. My grief, my baby, my loss had been so insignificant to her that she'd forgotten entirely. The dress you wore, I said quietly. Do you remember where it came from? Your closet? She replied, confusion evident in her voice. You've never worn it, and I thought. I bought it the day I lost my baby, I interrupted. For the vow renewal that never happened because I was in the hospital having a D&C instead. The silence that followed was deafening. When Rachel finally spoke, her voice was small. I forgot. Oh God, I'm so sorry. But sorry wasn't enough. Not after 5 years of minimized grief. Not after she'd taken perhaps the most painful physical reminder of my loss and paraded it around at her celebration without a second thought. 2 days later, I invited Rachel to my home. When she arrived, nervous and bearing an apologetic bouquet, I didn't speak. I simply handed her a small envelope. Inside was the only ultrasound photo we had of our baby, the grainy black and white image I carried in my wallet for 5 years, the tangible proof that my child had existed, however briefly. Rachel stared at the image, tears streaming down her face as the full weight of what she'd done finally registered. The tiny form, barely recognizable as human yet perfectly formed, seemed to stare back at her in judgment. I didn't just borrow a dress, she whispered. I took the last connection you had to your baby. My parents offered to pay for professional mediation, a neutral space where Rachel and I could work through what had happened. In our second session,
Okay, saying she didn't care was a complete overstatement. Right? Overstatement? Yeah, it was an overstatement. She cares. But I think at the time she didn't care. Or she didn't realize. That's pretty much it. Yeah, she didn't realize what it actually meant. Cause I don't know. She wasn't in a relationship or anything by then. At that point, so I don't. At the time, she might not have cared. I can't say for certain, but I feel like at the time she probably didn't care. Then obviously now they're in a relationship. Now they probably actually understand or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. I can't say for certain.
Rachel finally admitted the truth. She had remembered the significance of the dress but convinced herself I would want her to have it as a way to repurpose my pain into something joyful. I thought I was helping you move on, she explained, unable to meet my eyes. The therapist helped me articulate what Rachel couldn't understand, that grief doesn't have an expiration date, that moving forward.
That's true. You can grieve for the rest of your life, but obviously, grief doesn't have to define you. Obviously, you can move past grief. Of course, it's going to still be with you on certain days, but you can move past it. You can move on with your life. Some days might be harder than others, but eventually you would learn to deal with it just like any other day.
Forward doesn't mean erasing the past, and that my baby's brief existence deserved recognition, not convenient forgetting. Rachel returned the dress, professionally cleaned and carefully packaged. I donated it to an organization that transforms wedding gowns into burial clothes for infants who don't survive childbirth. Something beautiful born from
Oh,
pain, but on my terms, not hers. It's been 3 months since the engagement party. Rachel postponed her wedding, recognizing that healing our relationship needed to take priority over planning her celebration. We're rebuilding slowly, with more honesty than before. She now wears a small angel pin on her jacket, her way of acknowledging the niece or nephew she never met but who remains an important part of our family's story. As for me, David and I are in the final stages of adopting a baby girl due in 2 months. Her birth mother chose us specifically because of the letter I wrote about our journey through loss and the depth of love we have to give. When I shared this news with Rachel, she didn't offer platitudes or try to make it about herself. She simply held my hand and said, "She'll be so loved." Sometimes the deepest wounds come from those closest to us, not always from malice, but from a fundamental failure to understand. The dress incident forced both Rachel and me to
yeah, that's true, honestly. It's not from hatred or, like they said, malice, which is basically hatred. Um, it's for another word, it's just, I don't want to say this, but I have another word for it. Ignorance. That's what it is. It's ignorance, pretty much. Probably not exactly ignorance, but that's pretty much basically what it is.
recognize that true closeness isn't about sharing clothes or weekly dinners, it's about honoring each other's truths, even the painful ones. Especially the painful ones. Our relationship will never be what it was, but perhaps it can be something more authentic now that the pretense of perfect understanding has been stripped away.
That's true. It would never be the same, of course. The relationship, obviously, most relationships, once they're broken, you could fix it, but it can never be the same. It would always be different. There would always be a difference in your relationship. Doesn't matter what kind of relationship is it. There would always be some sort of difference in the relationship. So if it's like a friendship, or if it's like it was a friendship turned into something else and you want to be friends again, unless you're both on a complete same mindset of where each other is at, then obviously your friendship is going to be completely different from when it was in the beginning. In the beginning, you were friends. Then you wanted to see if you have a little bit more than just friends, so you go out. You might do whatever. And then you realize that it's not worth working out, so you want to be friends again. But if something happens in a relationship, obviously it's, and you want to go back to being, one of you wants to go back to being friends, it's gonna flip it on its head. It's like a puzzle piece that won't fit together, because it's not gonna be the same as it was once was. Same thing for friendship. Same thing for sisters as well. I mean, once you do something that, breaks trust or breaks something in the relationship, is the same thing. It's just not obviously boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend. It's actually sistership, which, depending on who you ask, might be more important. But once you break trust, the puzzle piece won't fit back together anymore. And obviously, you have to build your relationship on a broken piece. Like I said, unless you're both on the same wavelength and you both understand each other. Okay. My sister stole and wore my wedding dress to her engagement party when she asked why it was. And that was Dead Spies Red Story React. Hope you have a nice day, a nice good evening, a nice night, and a good morning. Okay, bye.